What is up, you guys? This is Miss Dupe, and today we are going to talk about slope-intercept form, and we're just going to do the basics today. So just to go over really quick ways we have found slope. So first we found slope from graphs, which is when we did rise over run. We have found slope from tables, which is when we did our change of y over change of x, and then we found slope from 2 points, which is when we did y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So today we are going to find the number that represents slope in the y-intercept in the equation of the form y equals mx plus b. Remember, we already know the letter that represents slope is m. From this slide on, you need to go ahead and start taking notes. So make sure you are writing in your notebook and make sure you are labeling it the appropriate page number based on Miss Bofiche's notebook or my notebook. So we already know that m is slope. So the y-intercept is kind of the new thing for us today. The y-intercept is where the line on the graph crosses the y-axis. So if we were looking at a graph, let me just make a rough coordinate grid, and you should do this too. We have our x-axis, which is our horizontal axis, and we have our y-axis, which is our vertical axis. When we have a line like this one, we have what's called our y-intercept, which is right where I'm putting that point. That's where our line is crossing the y-axis. So that's what number we are finding there. And the y-intercept is represented by the letter b. So in that y equals mx plus b equation, b is the y-intercept, m is our slope and always has been our slope. So the rules for slope-intercept form. So first of all, y equals mx plus b is our slope-intercept form equation. So just one more time, just a reminder. And in the y equals mx plus b equation, m and b must always be numbers. So these are always going to be filled in. M will be a number like 2 or negative 1/3, and b will always be 1 or negative 7. Y and x must always stay variables in a proper slope-intercept form equation. So what we are going to do today is actually just determine our slope and our y-intercept. So just a reminder one more time, m is going to represent our slope and b is going to represent our y-intercept. So slope is the steepness of our line on a graph, and the y-intercept is where our line is going through the y-axis. So these numbers do mean something visually. So another reminder, y equals mx plus b is our equation. So our first example is y equals 4x plus 1. So our two numbers we have in this equation are 4 and 1. The number that's next to our x is always our slope. So m is going to be 4. Our slope is 4 because it's next to our x. The number that is our constant, that's by itself, is always our y-intercept. So b is 1, since 1 is by itself. So in the next one, our two numbers are 3/2 and negative 9. And make sure you are always taking the sign in front of the number if there is a sign in front of the number. So the number that is next to x is 3/2. So m is going to equal 3/2. The number that's by itself is this -9. So b equals -9. In our next example, we have -2/5 and we have +7. Y equals -2/5 x plus 7. So the number that's next to x is always our slope. M equals -2/5. Our number that's always by itself is our y-intercept, so b equals 7. So our examples on the left-hand side here, right-hand side, are ones that are kind of special cases. So this first one is y equals 2x. So 2x, the number 2, is next to our x, so that has to be our m. M equals 2. However, there's nothing that's a number alone. So what that means is our b equals 0 because we have no b. So on the next one, we have y equals 1/3 x. 1/3 is next to our x. That means that 1/3 is our m. And once again, since we don't have a constant or a number alone over there, that means our b equals 0. Lastly, we have y equals -5. Is there an x in this equation? No. That means that this number alone is our b, so b equals -5. Since there is no x, m is going to equal 0. And make a note in your notes that there is no x here, so m is going to equal 0. One more thing that I would like to mention here, and I'm going to just squeeze this in here at the end, is if your equations are out of order. So let's add a number 7 here. Let's say you have the equation y equals 1 plus 2x. Remember, the entire time we've been doing these examples, we've been looking at the numbers, finding the number that's next to x first. So the number that's next to x is our m. The number 2 is next to x, so that has to be our m. The number alone is 1, so that has to be our b. So even if the equation is semi out of order, the number that's next to x has to be our m. The number that's alone has to be b. And that is our slope-intercept form basic.